Well, welcome to Behind the Owl podcast, where we're just two wedding professionals sharing a no bullshit approach to what goes on behind the scenes in the wedding industry. My name is Katie, and I am a wedding planner.
And I'm Sarah. I'm a wedding photographer.
Happy freaking winter.
Happy 12 degrees.
My God.
I think it was 7 last night, which is disgusting.
That's unnecessary.
Absolutely disgusting.
I mean, I understand that like with the cold weather, we get like the beautiful snow and whatnot. So if y'all are local to our area, hopefully you enjoyed your snow day.
I could do without.
Yeah, same. We got out of the house. We co-worked. That was nice.
Yeah. What are we chatting about today?
Accountability.
And professionalism.
Dude, it's like one of my favorite topics to talk about, because I also feel like this is connected to another podcast episode that we're going to do a little bit later in regards to our industry just not being regulated.
Yeah.
So, but there is this lack, I'm sure obviously since we're talking about it, you've seen it too, but there's just this lack of, there is a lack of professionalism and accountability to some degree. Do I think that our industry suffers from it greatly? Is it an epidemic within the industry? No, I think that's a dramatic term necessarily. But I just have found that there are some consistencies.
Or inconsistencies.
Consistencies in that type of unprofessional behavior. But the inconsistency to have the professional behavior or whatever. But I think a lot of it too, I feel like I see it in various different areas. One of them being style shoots, which I know we're going to talk about our recent encounter that we had.
Yeah.
Networking events, like one-on-one meetings, things like that too. Essentially just not following through on the commitments that people make.
Yep.
To that extent. I feel like I always have to say like a disclaimer every single fucking episode. And so like one of the disclaimers is surely life happens 100%. I think I feel like there are certain people that there's just, God, this is going to sound real fucking shitty, that there's always something happening. And so then that's why they can't follow through on their commitment. Or
I think some of it might be excuse too, because as an introvert, I make future promises that I don't necessarily want to follow through on. I push through that because I should be accountable for the things that I agree to do. But I've found myself wanting to make excuses for situations where I just don't want to do it that day. Yeah. Like I make that promise and I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, I really don't want to actually do this. But then I end up doing it and it's fine. So I think some of it, that whole something happens every time, I think also might, I mean, maybe maybe something is happening every time. You never know. Yeah. But it might also be a form of an out. Yeah. You're just blaming something every time. I find that happens a lot with children.
Yeah. Just trying to find like an excuse. I think too,
although I don't have kids, so I can't really say much about that. But yeah. In those instances too, like when it comes to if like you're not going to follow through on a commitment, I would much rather prefer the honesty than just making up something random where I'm kind of like, okay, I know this is not the truth. Just tell me, like, I don't know. Like I have had many instances like where my inner circle has like said to me, if maybe we had like a one-on-one meeting or a lunch or I don't know, like a co-working date or something like that. Like I have had people come to me, obviously those are like near and dear to me. They're like, my anxiety is like off the chain. Like I just need to like be at home and relax or something. Do you know what I mean? Instead of being like, hey, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if we are more upfront with people or maybe it has something to do with anxiety. There's been many a time too where like I burnt the midnight oil like several days in a row, and then maybe I had a lunch and then I just checked in with that person as early as possible. Not saying like an hour before, 30 minutes before you're supposed to meet someone. That shit pisses me off. Don't do that. But at least like a day or two like before would be preferable. But like I know like if I've burnt like the midnight oil and I'm just not I'm not going to be able to like be all energy and like be able to commit it or whatever, then sending a quick text message or whatever preferred like communication that like me and that person have had, saying, hey, I've been working really long hours. I really need to take this day to like rejuvenate. I'm not going to be the person like that I want to be like at our lunch. Is there a way that we can, reschedule if that's okay with you?
Yeah.
And then from there, I feel like with rescheduling, then you also, if you're the person who's rescheduling, then you have to take kind of like the weight of, hey, I'll come to, like, depending on like where it is, I will come to you then kind of as like a, like when you take like flowers or a bottle of wine to like someone's house, like because they're hosting or whatever. That's kind of how I feel about that.
Sure. That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't see this. Like, what is going on?
I had a thought and then I lost it.
Fuck. Oh, well, damn.
Fuck. I had a thought. It was there. But yeah, I see this. I see this a lot happening with new people wanting to meet not new people too, and it gets scary. I think honesty overall is just a scary thing to people, where they think that I'm going to make up an excuse that sounds more urgent than I'm just not feeling it. Whereas then when we are rolling into the lie or like the excuse that they're making, it kind of just doesn't make sense. But they always think like, hey, I'm going to come up with this excuse that sounds a little bit more urgent, something that like I can't get out of. So then they don't feel like I'm gypping them of this experience or like totally bailing on them for no reason.
Yeah.
I think honesty is just a scary thing. And I've kind of not vowed, but I've like told myself that I'm going to try and be more honest and less like sugarcoaty with people.
Yeah.
Because I just find that like if I want to say something, I'm going to say it. Like, like I just don't feel like there's room anymore for a sugarcoating experience. Like, it just doesn't. It never ends well, if that makes sense. Like, there's never really an ending to it.
I feel like because then you have to kind of keep up with that facade over time. And, like, how exhausting is that? Right.
So, that said, we had an experience with a styled shoot recently, which is kind of what sparked this. And it's not the first time I've seen stuff like this happen with free commitments and commitments that I wouldn't say don't have strings, but you're not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not entitled to be there. Is that what I'm looking for? Like, there's no strings attached to it. Like, it's not a paid gig. It's just something that you've kind of committed to and don't necessarily.
There's like no repercussions if like nothing really happens.
Right. You're just
a shitty person.
Yeah. So I find this happens a lot with that type of commitment. Like, people put out model calls and then those models flake on you, which we'll get into. But like in general, like not just this specific styled shoot that we're talking about. Like I've seen and I've had numerous times where I've put out model calls and like, hey, I really want to do such and such for a free shoot. Anyone interested? People commit to it and then they bail because there's no reason that they didn't pay for it. So they're just like, sorry, this happened, can't do it. And they're like telling me at the last second. You're like, well, shit.
That's why like the term or like the phrase of like nobody values free,
right?
That's where it comes from. So like, it kind of makes me think about it's all, they talk about that also like in a marketing strategy. Like whenever you're discounting something or like you're offering something for free, you cannot expect people to value it the same way as if they paid for something,
which is what's really shitty because I'm giving this to you with like taking my time and my experience and my money and whatever I'm putting into this for free. Yeah. So that I can I'm doing it for myself mainly, but like I'm also allowing you to have these free photos. Like that's when I feel like the accountability should be like tenfold.
And to add on to that too, especially I think because what I'm about to say is conducive to like our specific situation, but I think it also can be applied to broader different situations as well. Is like, especially if someone or a group of people or whatever have you, or like whatever the case may be, if you are well aware of the work that's already been gone into it, you've been communicated like details of like location or time or what the expectations are. It's like, again, even if you didn't all know, like you didn't know that information and you still like, and then you end up backing out, that's still shitty. But to me, I feel like even like it's even more, it's shittier if like, you know, all of the back end work that went into it. And then you still made the conscious effort to be like,
I think we need to back up and explain.
Okay. Sorry.
Because yes. So with this styled shoot, we will not get into specifics, but we had this styled shoot planned for about a month, reached out to a couple of people, got some models to model for us. The model had a friend who was also a professional model, which I don't love working with professional models for this reason, but the friend, the model that we had is in the industry. So we were relying on them to, you know, be accountable. And they said that they were going to do what they were going to do and bring this model along. And we gave them the location, the time, the day, the amount of time we would need them for. We gave them everything up front.
Yeah.
And they had all the information they needed minus a physical address. But we gave them the full like the actual location. All you had to do was GPS it.
Like literally city and state, and they were well aware of it.
Yeah. And the day before, leading up to this, we had not heard much from these people. We did not have contact with the model friend. We only had contact with the model that was in the industry. And we did not hear much from them leading up to it. But we did have confirmation a couple of times within 2 weeks?
Yeah, definitely.
2 weeks, the week of, we had confirmation from them. The day before, this person decided that the day before we gave out, not the day before, it was like a couple days before, I guess, we gave out the actual address.
No, I'll be honest, it was like the day before where we had like, I had made a whole like informational like communicative thing, and I said to confirm everything, because we had like confirmed all these different logistics like in different days, and now I was just gonna do it in one fell swoop of like kind of like an invitation of like when, where, time, this is what's happening, like this is the goal and all that kind of stuff. I had done that. Yeah, it was the day before, just kind of like an all-encompassing of like, here's a summary of everything, we're all good to go, this is great.
But it's not like we didn't give all the information prior to.
No, it was just it was sporadically in different ways of like, but this is going to happen. Here's like what we're doing for like the tablescape. Like it was just a collection of different things over time. And then the night before, not the night before, but the day before, that's when I had like sent out the message of like, here is everything that we have all talked about.
Right.
Just, I mean, none of this is new information to you.
Yeah. The only new information was the address.
The direct address.
Yeah.
Correct. Because it was it was
an Airbnb.
Yeah, it was a private. Yeah, it was a private. It wasn't like we were going to like an actual like wedding venue or something.
Correct. Yeah. So the information was given, and then we heard crickets.
Yeah.
Some crickets. Some more crickets. Some more crickets. Wanted to confirm. More crickets.
Mind you, time of day too. I did this like mid-morning.
Yeah, it was early. So we were getting a little nervous. And then what was it? Like midday?
Yeah.
Midday, they told us that...
Midday going into like already like evening time.
Right. They told us that the model friend had a paid gig that was offered to them, but the model in the industry convinced them not to take the paid gig, but then asked us if we could compensate for drive, for travel.
Mind you, we had already asked like this person who was like committing themselves and their friend to this, we had already asked them, is there any kind of compensation that you're looking for? Literally anything.
Did we?
Yes.
Why did we ask that?
Because we wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to happen.
Oh.
That this wasn't going to be used as an excuse.
Well, I don't remember that.
Later,
But
way in the beginning. Hey,
that's interesting.
Do you need any kind of compensation of any kind so that we are all made well? Because it was you and I, and then another person who were kind of like three-way, like going into this like together, and so we were all going to split. Not split.
Yeah.
Split the cost all together, and that's another like that's why we were like, okay, are you looking for any kind of compensation?
Well, also when we hear professional model, we automatically think they want compensation.
Yeah.
So
'Cause typically
we kind of
they
wanted
do.
to. We probably were going to nip it in the butt if they wanted compensation, because
this was just this whole project was just literally for funsies, which
Yeah.
I know like most style shoots are. Like some people are like, well, style shoots are for funsies.
no.
Style shoots, they can be for funsies if you really want to. However, most of the time style shoots are for like you're trying to do something that maybe you don't have in your portfolio yet.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to work with a particular person or location. This project literally
Was just for fun.
it was literally just for fun.
It was an end of the year. We're gonna.
I had some like potential like rental allotment that I had to like blow through.
Yeah, we were just gonna throw some creative juices, like literally everything that was
Yeah.
left in our brain from the whole year. We were just putting out and then like data dumping it all. Like that was it. That was it. That was all. We were giving it our all, and then we were capping out. So yeah, it was all just for fun. So we were trying not to spend a ton of money. This wasn't for anything in particular where we felt the need to spend money on. So if this person wanted to be compensated, we most likely were going to be like, hey, we'll find somebody that doesn't want to be compensated.
Thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
And it's also fine if you want to hire real models, because I've been in situations where we've hired real models. It just depends on what you're looking for. That instance, we were not looking for a professional model. We were just looking for somebody to stand in front of the camera.
Yep.
And so fast forward, we were told that this person wanted us to compensate them for travel. Unbeknownst to us, this person was coming from 2 hours away
Yeah.
from where the Airbnb was. We did not know that. We had no recollection of that whatsoever. We were not told that. So we agreed, because we literally had less than 24 hours.
Less than 12.
12 hours to make that decision. Like we could not find anyone else. So we agreed we would compensate them for travel. We didn't really have a choice, honestly. So after we agreed that we would compensate them for travel, we heard crickets again. There was nothing until later that night.
I think it really started happening around like
I remember
like
you and
7.
you and I being on the phone around like 7 or 8.
It started at 7, and then the bomb exploded at 8:30 p.m.
And the next thing that we heard was that this person wanted to be back. The next thing we heard, like 2 hours later, was now on top of wanting to be compensated for travel, this person needed to be back 2 hours away in Maryland by 5 p.m. when our shooting time was commencing from 10 to 3.
Yeah.
Or 10 to 4 or something like that. But this person needed to be back by 5 to meet somebody. Well, that wasn't going to happen. So they wanted us to end the shoot 2 hours earlier so that they could leave and have time to meet said person.
That are just like, they're like, can we like modify like the timeline? Can we
Right.
start earlier? And it's like, no, because we had already scheduled ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Of like, I need to go pick up like this last minute rental because the rental place was on the way like to the Airbnb. Like we all of the entire time, like every single minute from like the moment our eyeballs were open.
Right.
It was literally timed and scheduled.
And it's not like we were starting at like 1. Like we were starting at 10 a.m. and having to set up then at we were setting up at 9:30. Hair and makeup was going to start at 10.
We're going to start shooting around like 11, 12
something
or
like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Because again, we do this during the winter season and the sun does not stay in the sky for a long time.
So And we are also an hour and some change away. So it was a lot. And so they wanted us to start earlier, and we said, no, sorry, we can't do that. Everything's been accounted for as far as timing is concerned. Granted, if this had been given to us, 2 weeks ago,
we can totally have worked
we
around
could have worked around it.
It wasn't going to work out at all.
Yeah. So this was at 8 p.m. the night before. And then the model in the industry said, okay, well, I'm going to tell this person that, we can't do this. And then they're going to try and get out of it or whatever. Get out of meeting the person in Maryland. And we said, okay, well, let us know what happens. Crickets, literally nothing. Heard nothing.
For the rest of the night.
For the rest of the night.
That was done.
Nothing.
It was
We
done.
even followed up with like, hey, so if this person backs out, because that's where I knew this was going, if this person backs out, what's our next option? And they said nothing. I keep fucking up. But they said nothing. And until like 7:30 in the morning, the next morning, they text us.
Oh, they're not feeling well.
Yeah. Now,
Bro.
now this professional model is not feeling well and will no longer be coming. Okay.
We kind of already assumed that was happening, that they were some way or how trying to give some sort of reason as to, they're trying to get out of it.
Yeah. We knew, we had come to the conclusion the night before that this person was going to get out of it. And so they confirmed that morning, saying that they were sick now. Now we've had 3 different accounts of 3 different reasons why this person will not be making it or finding some way to not make it. Knowing this now, they wanted us to say, don't worry about it at the very beginning. That's why. But then we say, okay, well, will you still model for us? Because we can do this with one person.
Yep. Cricket.
Have not heard anything since.
Literally that person to this day, to this very, very day, has not said anything, hasn't acknowledged nothing. Nothing.
Has ghosted us.
Yep.
And we've reached out and still have ghosted us. And
for those of you who are like, maybe something happened to them. No. They're alive and well. They're fine.
We know very firsthand that they are okay.
Yeah.
And they were okay the next day, based off of things that we saw on the internet. That said, that really shitty situation could have been resolved by just telling us from the very beginning that they don't want to do this shoot.
Yep.
Because it's too far away.
Or honestly, instead of just dragging it out the whole day before, hey, like the person that I thought it was going to be able to do this with me is no longer interested in doing it. And if they're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it either. Okay. Thanks so much for letting us know.
Yeah.
Type situation. I still would have been irritated, but it's better than like dragging it out and then at 8:30 p.m. being like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Mind you too, what really, really drives me crazy more than anything else is at the end of the day for this shoot, we obviously ended up not having any models because actually we did try to kind of figure out in our different networks of like who potentially could be a person who could do this like on a last minute whim. But it was 7:30 in the freaking morning. Like, how was this? So we did exhaust all of our options after that. So we ended up having a really beautiful shoot. It was more like product photography at that point. I mean, we had ourselves a good time. It was still really good. It was, we had a great time and whatnot. What killed me more than anything else though is like, especially like for our hair and makeup artist friend too, homegirl literally moved her entire schedule around to be a part of this shoot. The entire thing.
Yeah.
It like moved her entire day. Like obviously it declined any other kind of potential like gigs or any of that type of thing too, all because they had committed themselves to obviously like our shoot.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars worth of product
hours and minutes and seconds into like planning the entire thing, like all of that type of stuff too. So
yeah, it's just really unfortunate that it went down like that.
and I know that we are not alone. Like this, like our story, unfortunately, this is a common occurrence.
Yeah. And I think if anything, if you commit to something and you don't have all of the information that you need up front, one, ask for addresses if that is the make or break, because we gave the location, city and state, obviously, that is Googleable. It's not like it was a very broad location. It was a specific location.
Well, this person knew exactly where this
Yeah.
location was.
Right.
Oh yeah, like they have, you know, ties and all that kind of stuff to it too.
So if you didn't check the address beforehand, that's on you. But own up to it and be honest about it, because this whole running us through the gamut of excuses, it really puts a bad taste in your mouth.
and you burn bridges
And
this
you
way.
burn bridges and you burn relationships, and people lose respect for people that
then,
do that.
If you are going to be a person then too that, like, again, this is going to be a pattern of behavior, that is going to become your reputation then on top of that. Where
Yeah.
like if you potentially, again, if it's like a one-off situation and like something happened and you have to bow out on something, what I don't understand is someone bowing out of a commitment of any kind. Again, a styled shoot, maybe you RSVP'd for like a networking event and then you don't even attend anymore with no notice, or like, you know, contacting the host of any kind, you backing out on one-on-one meetings, whether it's co-working, whether it's an actual work meeting, whether it's a lunch of some kind or whatever have you. Like if you are bowing out of something, you need to make it an effort. Just make an effort and to fix it.
Yeah.
To fix it. Like literally anything, like a really nice text message or like an email or something along those lines, depending on the big thing or whatever. I'll be quite honest. Like I had to miss out like on a networking event that I had RSVP'd for, and I had to bow out last minute for it. But I sent the host flowers and saying like, you know, congratulations on this new business venture for you. I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to make it. And I'm not saying this to boast about myself. That's not it or whatever. It's just, it's the professionalism of like, you can't just take and then expect other people within the industry to give back to you.
Right. And I mean, if you want to do it, if you want to look at it in a selfish way too, by doing that, you're more likely to be remembered and less likely to be forgotten.
Yes.
Because even though you did not attend, or you had to
I got chill bumps after that statement.
you didn't, even though you didn't attend, and maybe it was just anxiety and you didn't want to do it, or you just didn't feel like doing it. Who cares what situation it was? But if you make the effort to, and I'm not saying like be a brown noser or like, you know, sucking somebody's butthole. I'm just saying like, I'm not saying be like over the top about it, but sending a note, snail mail always makes a difference. We don't think it does anymore, but it does. So, even just like a text on the day of like, hey, congratulations, I'm thinking of you. So sorry I couldn't be there. Like just making an effort to be there for that person when you couldn't be there for that person. It makes so much more of a difference, and they will remember you, and they won't just like, all right, well, that bridge is burned, moving on to the next. So next time they need somebody in that whatever realm of, you know, relationship you have with that person, next time they need somebody that has that expertise or has a question on something, or they can still look at you like a friend or like a person, instead of just like lose respect for you and move on to the next. Like you won't get that relationship back. So just by making the effort to again be accountable for yourself, it also looks really good.
It reminds me too of like just again, it's kind of like a different realm, but at the same time, it's the same. Like customer service, for an example.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you screw up, most people are, yes, they're going to be irritated about the experience that they're obviously potentially that they're having. They are going to remember the response more than actually of like what went wrong.
Right.
So if you constantly, like, if you need to, again, the humility thing also has a lot to do with being professional and keeping yourself accountable.
Yep.
You've got to be in this, not just in this industry, in life in general. You have got to live a life of humility because you don't know everything.
Right.
You will never know everything. There is no, I don't care how many degrees you have, how many acronyms behind your name. I really do not give a shit. Don't care.
Yeah.
If you are not, obviously this triggered something. If you don't live a life of like humility, then people read that, they feel it, they know it, they see it, all that kind of thing too, and they just expect, they expect nothing. They have a really, really low expectation for you, which is not great by any means. So if you are not going to be able to, again, follow through on something, or maybe you've messed up in whatever you're offering or doing or whatever have you, if you don't humble yourself and say, dang, I did mess up, I'm really sorry that you are having this experience. Either one, how can I make it up to you? Or here is how we can go ahead and reconcile this situation in and of itself.
Yeah. It's that whole saying of like, people won't necessarily remember what you say, but they will remember how you make them feel.
Yes.
We don't remember that enough, I don't think. And I do, because I find that in my field of work, it makes a difference tenfold on like, I can bring, I can have anyone do a session, right? I can have anyone do a photography session, and it can be very cut and dry and, get in, get out, and then we move on with life. But they won't necessarily recommend me or remember me the next time that they need a session because it was very cut and dry. But if I can make them feel something, whether it's just fun, if I can just have them remember that they had fun in the way that they felt during that session, they're more likely to recommend me and remember me the next time that they need a session because they want something that was fun. And then when they look back on their images, they're not going to be like, oh, that was kind of boring.
Yeah.
I don't really remember how I felt in that, but I do remember being in that. Like,
or it could be like from the back end things, like depending on like that person's or like couple's like personality, maybe they are like cut and dry people, which is fine. But like you deliver a stellar like process from like booking to prep to actual like experience, and then even like post-production, if it's like seamless and like and again it's a nice experience, then maybe they might not recommend, but they're gonna be like, hey, we loved how Sarah like worked with us, like this is what you can expect from her. Then you can get referrals like that. Do you know what I mean?
So it's just all about feeling.
Literally, people, like, human beings are emotional creatures. Okay, very emotional creatures. I feel we are a species. Because now I'm a scientist apparently.
She's got acronyms now.
For real. We're just human beings. We lead by emotion. A whole lot.
Especially in this industry.
You want to talk about probably one of the most emotional industries? I feel like literally like weddings and funerals.
Yeah. Yep.
Which are the two most that, like, I tell people all the time, you really want to see people come out. Weddings and funerals.
Yep.
Yeah. People got to have something to say about everything because someone's feelings they got hurt, they got triggered of some kind, whatever have you, because it's an emotional time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that also kind of rolls into professionalism in the industry as well.
Yeah, twofold. For sure.
Yeah. I think that your professionalism speaks volumes too. And I get, we all want to have a voice and we all want to have a personality in the industry.
Yeah.
I get it. I am a big believer in that. But I think the underlying thing should always have a sense of professionalism as well, especially because this is not a regulated industry.
Yeah. So
I think things can get out of hand really easily on our transparency. We've talked about that before, from our work to personal lives. I think that can be that line can get crossed very, very easily because of the lack of regulation in the industry. So I think professionalism speaks volumes on one's experience as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into some ways that we can further our professionalism?
Yeah, I kind of, I understand like within our industry in and of itself, like it's not like, big corporate world, right? Where there's like this weird social understanding of like, this is how you are supposed to dress. Like if you go on a Pinterest and you be like corporate attire, you get a shit ton of like, the blazers and the jackets and the suits and all that kind of stuff too. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. Also, I'm starting to follow like some corporate like girlies on TikTok. One of them is one of my favorite is being Sarah Pareto, who does sales. And she will record herself doing like live cold calling. And then she uses all these like big corporate like acronyms. And I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? I was like, I've Googled it being like, what does like BDR or something like that? Some of y'all in corporate world are going to be like, what are you like? Yes, this is well-known knowledge. And I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff. Within our own like wedding industry, we don't really necessarily, I guess we do have some acronyms. MOB, MIL, MOH, like things like that too. But that's like pretty, I feel like people can, BEOs, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we have like our own lingo in and of itself, but then again, like you were saying, there's not really this like in big corporate world, there's already like that social like understanding of what's going.
There's a pretty solid line.
Yeah, there's like an unwritten like rule book within corporate world. In wedding world, there's not really one.
No,
but there is though at the same time. It's very small. To some extent, just because we just watch what each other does, and we're kind of saying, okay, like what, I mean, it's like a trend. You like watch what the trend is, and then you jump on the train of like, okay, in order for me to participate in this trend, then I have to perform in this way, or I have to wear this, or I have to do this, or whatever have you. So I feel like though in our wedding industry, there's not really this understanding. There's not really like those cues, like those social cues or professionalism cues, but there are a few that have been kind of staples throughout the entire time. For example, we all flaunt ourselves in the sense of like wearing black on wedding days. That's just always been a thing. I honestly feel like it comes from, before the wedding industry was in the wedding industry, like look at the theater production.
I was just going to say it's very much theater production.
It's like that because you are behind the scenes. Obviously the whole black wearing or whatever from a theater perspective is because obviously behind the stage, it's dark.
Yeah, you don't want to be seen.
So obviously like on wedding days, yes, you might not be behind a screen or behind some sort of curtain, but it signals
you're behind a proverbial curtain.
Yes, yes. So not a physical one, but like you're trying to not stand out a whole lot, because you're there to work, and you're there to put on the entire. If you do look at a wedding day, it could to some degree look at it as from a production standpoint. There's many different things that are happening. But I have been to a couple of, if I'm really going to use now wedding day attire as like a specific, I've had some instances from a planner, especially like with some of these venues too, that like they're just nice spaces. I've had people show up in jeans, in hoodies, like you just came from the gym. I'm all about comfort, babe. I'm all about comfort 100%, but I'm also going to be comfortable, but also look the part as well. You are at a wedding. Yeah. This is not a backyard barbecue. Even so, you are a hired professional. Yeah. Okay. Even if you've been in the game for literally 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, don't care. If you are putting yourself out there as a professional, whatever,
look the part,
videographer, caterer, planner, florist, anything, you need to look exactly like you just said. You need to look the part. You need to show up exactly in that you are portrayed then as a professional. There are too many. I can't, from a planner's perspective, I'm going to have a really hard time giving you respect when you are showing up in a hoodie and joggers and some tennis shoes, and you're going to be like, hey, I'm the videographer. And I'm like,
yeah, that's
you going to change at some point, my dude? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. I think that's also why people get very specific on their attire when they hire out as well, like from a photographer standpoint, hiring second shooters. I've had to get specific a couple of times. Most people that I work with now, I've worked with a million times, so they know, but you cannot show up to work next to me in joggers and like a turtleneck or something, or like a quarter zip or something. Granted, you wear quarter zips, but that's fine. I've also had people show up in light colors, like cream and white,
ma'am.
And yeah, and I've had people show up in ripped jeans and like literal like yoga pants and crop tops. Like I've had people show up to work next to me like that. And that's where my contracts for my second shooters have gotten very specific, because, and that's why you'll see, like, if you want to work for especially high-end vendors, they have a full dress code.
Oh yeah,
because you're not going to show up because you work under me, so you're representing my company.
Yeah,
you're not going to show up making me look bad because you don't know how to dress for a wedding day. What
I've been noticing too is also like in the luxury and ultra luxury market, especially from the planner's perspective, I don't see a whole lot of black wearing. They will wear attire that is aesthetically like in collaboration like with the wedding day aesthetic, and I completely understand that. However, they are dressing well. They're dressing the part in that sense too.
I wish I could do that, but
so I you know, and it's beautiful, and that's amazing as well. So I'm not shitting on that by any means, but because they're still dressing the part. They're not.
No, I love that.
They're not showing up again in like their casual attire. They are, because they understand that, you know, also it's a reflection too of like the couple, to be quite honest,
right?
Is that, you know, I can't get this whole like this, because I'm thinking about the one instances from last fall where the videographer showed up and literally it was a sweatshirt, joggers, and tennis shoes. And I honestly thought when they had shown up, I was like, okay, maybe, because I know they came from out of town to come to the wedding day. I was like, okay, maybe they obviously like this is what they drove in. They're going to change their clothes. No, homeboy literally wore that all day. And I was like, you've got bridesmaids in full length satin gowns. Like, you stick out like a sore thumb. You don't look good at all. Yeah. You don't.
Yeah. And I find that,
I think it's disrespectful.
It is I do think it is. I agree with that. But you dress for the job you want too. Like, that's always been ingrained in me. Like, there's never a such thing as overdressed either, I don't think, unless you're like showing up in a wedding gown. Don't do that. Or like, but I've seen guys, like, I have so much respect for the male videographers when they show up in full suits, dude, because that shit is so uncomfortable. I cannot even imagine like midsummer showing up in a full ass suit, but
I can't.
You look great, and like you can command a room, you command attention. Like
the dress shirt, like the trousers. I've had a couple of videographers, and I'm like
they show up and they show out, but I think if you also, you're more likely to get respect from the people that you need the respect from.
1000%.
Because if you show up looking like you just came back from the gym, but you want to command a group of 25, 30 family members, you're not going to.
Yep.
Whereas if you show up and you are, it just portrays that you are the professional and you are the one that's in charge, because you are. Yeah. This is your job. Yeah. This is what you're hired for. So if you show up looking like a scrub, nobody's going to respect you and what you need them to do. I'm just saying, like, I have so much respect for also like the planners that when they're walking around and they're like dressed to the nines, because I know that shit is uncomfortable, but damn, you look good. Like, I know who is in charge here and I can come find you. Like, it also, I think, brings in the type of, granted, I will say, like, I'm not for if that is who you are as a person, though, because I'm not for people dressing in a way that they want to attract the people that they're like,
again, like the whole like facade
the
thing.
Whole like brand, like weird branding thing that's like not who you are, but you feel like that's the type of people that you want to attract.
I like saw like a realtor one time like on TikTok say like they literally traded in
like their car for like a quote unquote luxury car, just that when they pull up to appointments, it's like flashy and shit. And I'm like,
and it makes you look expensive.
Yeah. And then they were like, but I'm like making like, I'm just paycheck to paycheck or whatever. And I'm like, but okay, so you're pulling up in this Mercedes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's visual luxury is what it is.
Visual luxury.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, what the flying hell.
Yeah. So if that's not your thing and you want to show up just in black trousers and a black polo,
you can still show up and look nice even with quote unquote off-brand shit.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying show up to all these weddings looking like, you're walking down the red carpet, but
for real,
show up with some sense of professionalism. Just Pinterest, business casual.
Bro,
literally that's all it is. Just business casual. It's all you need to do.
Side note too, this is becoming a trend that I'm actually on board for, and I'm loving this. I just got done making one yesterday. Because unfortunately wedding dress codes have not been really debunked, or people assume, and also I feel like this is a regional thing too. Like depending on like where you are in the country, for example, like in the South, people who hear like cocktail attire, or maybe they think of a wedding in the South, depending on where you are, sometimes a really nice dark pair of blue jeans with like a dress, like that's dressing up for them, because the majority
I
of
had
the
these
South
people come to my wedding. It was a black tie optional wedding.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So literally like
actually I had people not come to my wedding because it was black tie optional and their nicest like clothing was blue jeans. Yeah. But
you can rent.
Yeah.
Or just keep the tag and you can return it. Bless them. My God. Okay. But I don't know how I feel about that. I'd be like, okay, that was nice, I guess, at the same time.
Anyway, go on.
And just so, but like what it's trickling. Couples are really starting to get like adamant about, hey, I really want to communicate. A good majority of like, especially towards like when wedding day is on the horizon, I'm going to say like maybe 90-day mark. I'm having this conversation a lot with my couples of like, they are concerned with how their guests are going to dress. And they're like, yeah, we put the the dress code like on the wedding website or on like the details card, like of the invitation and whatnot too. But again, people are not understanding what black tie optional, what black tie is, what formal, semi-formal, cocktail attire, any of that type of stuff is anymore. And so now in the land of internet and all the different social media platforms, I am actually, me personally, I'm starting to create Pinterest boards. And I'm putting it on the wedding website. So like a garden party that I'm planning for in April, I literally created an entire Pinterest board and linked it onto the couple's wedding website, where it's like, here's the dress code. This is what this means. But if you're needing some extra inspo, they click the link and it's literally a bunch of pins that are obviously with what the kind of vibe is.
I would one step further that for the folks that don't necessarily know how to use Pinterest, I would make a Canva like an actual like sheet that they just put on the website, like this is what this looks like.
Oh, I love that.
Because like my mother, I just had to teach her how to use Pinterest. Like she had no idea, which is fine, but like there is a generation of people that don't know how to use Pinterest. So if you just put that out there on the internet,
taking mental note.
Yeah, because I love that. And I love this is getting off topic, but I love the super specific dress codes.
Yeah.
Have you seen like
the
like colorful eclectic or something like that? Like I had one that was all spring colors. Like everyone wore all spring colors, so like light colors.
Yeah.
I love those super specific dress codes.
Even some people too like want their guests to be dressing like monochromatically, like only wear shades of green, or only wear black. Yeah. So that maybe if the couple's in all white suit or all white attire, then it just they're going like above and beyond for that one, which is pretty cool. But yeah, to kind of circle back around with the wedding day attire, even for like at the Tilly and Till team, I do have a Pinterest board that literally says wedding day attire. And if I do onboard any new assistants of any kind, I send them that Pinterest board of like, this is what I mean by like all black.
Yep.
I don't mean black jeans. I don't mean any like this type of stuff or whatever. Like here's things that are like acceptable. We do have Tilly and Till like branded t-shirts. I'm kind of going back and forth, obviously, because when I spent the money on the damn t-shirt to be made, but at the same time, I'm kind of like venturing, okay, is the branded t-shirt like too much? I just really would like just black in general.
Yeah. What if you did embroidered? I did this one time and people thought I was catering staff, which is kind of unfortunate. But I had embroidered dress shirts, like black dress shirt, and I had it embroidered with my company name on it, and then you just wear like black slacks. But somebody thought I worked for the venue.
So the catering company.
But I do think there are other things that you could do besides t-shirts.
I mean, to me, I'm just kind of like the whole branded t-shirt thing from like my perspective. I was like, okay, if someone needed us, they knew who to find. Like they can see like, okay, Tilly and Till on the back of the shirt. However, I'm also kind of like, okay, but we're also wearing all black attire. We have an earpiece in our ear and we have a clipboard in our hand. Like if they really needed to come to some, like find us, they'll find us.
I do feel like, I'll be totally honest, I do feel like the branded shirts are a little 2010.
Yeah.
Like I like little monogrammed, like that kind of vibe. I have a branded jumpsuit that I really wish was comfortable because I would wear it all the time. But just maybe something a little bit less casual.
Yeah.
You know?
I know the jumpsuit you're talking about. It actually is really cute. I like it.
I know. It's just so uncomfy.
I feel you. But yeah, so it kind of goes hand in hand with like accountability is underneath like the umbrella of being professional.
Yeah.
Within the industry in and of itself. So, you know, we've kind of hit on following through on commitments, whether that's a styled shoot, a networking event, one-on-one meetings. We've talked about already, like kind of beat it really hard with like a dead horse type situation of like just show up, or you've got to like the honesty, the transparency is going to go a long way. And just honestly, like in summation with that is like, you've got to, if you're not going to be able to follow through on something, you've got to reconcile in some way, shape or form. If you don't do that, then don't be shocked. Don't be pissed. Don't be upset when you're not called on, invited into a room, or asked to collaborate on something else because you left a bad taste in somebody's mouth and they're not trying to do that again. So
I'll be honest. I think that happened to me.
What?
I think that when I was friends with a certain group, I think that's what happened to me is I stopped putting those other people first that I was originally friends with because I made these new friends and I lost those friends. So, it happens. Like it is a thing. So I'm working really hard to get back what I lost. So
you learn from it. Self-awareness, babe. That We've all done it.
That's accountability. So.
I was about to say, we've all done it. Again, it's all about the acknowledgement of it, saying like, well, damn, I fucked up and let me change it.
Yeah.
And like, again, humbling yourself and being like, hey, I did a really wrong thing. I'm very sorry. I'm working on not doing this again, or I won't be doing this again. This is how I won't be doing it again. Things like that too. Yeah. So, because I know you talked about like last episode with, you know, you had said like, I want to go to all these things. And then like when the day comes, you're like, I don't want to do it. And like either one, like you force yourself, or you like said last episode, when we talked about this, you're like, I'm only committing myself to a certain amount of things.
Right.
Like you're capping it.
Yeah.
So you don't like burn yourself out.
Yep.
And things like that too. So we talked about following through on commitment, like professionalism and like your attire in and of itself. I'm going to hit on like
how
briefly.
You present yourself.
Yeah, for real. Wedding day attire, how to present yourself. Also, now this is going to fluctuate into email etiquette. I'm not going to peel back this onion too much because I feel like this is a learning curve. There's not really there's not really a book on like, this is how you respond to an email by any means. You can definitely Google this shit of like how to write professional emails. It reminds me of like when I was in elementary school, and like, I don't know if you were taught this in elementary school, like how to write a letter or how to address an envelope, or I actually went to etiquette school.
So did I.
Okay. It wasn't cotillion, but like
I did cotillion.
You did do cotillion?
Yeah, I didn't do etiquette school.
My brother did cotillion only because he begged and pleaded with my grandmother. He was like, there's so many cute girls in cotillion. I really want to go. And that's why he did cotillion. It was so cute. But at the same time, anyway.
It's a waste of time. I don't recommend it.
I was about to say, Kyle does not obviously use any of that stuff, for those of you who know my brother. Anyways, I went to etiquette school only because my aunt, she created, you want to talk about entrepreneurial spirit? homegirl literally had 5 million businesses, and one of them was an etiquette school. I had a vintage, what do you call,
telephone?
No, shut up. Jesus. Like that kind of telephone. What do you call it?
A rotary phone?
Yes. I'll never forget. This is one of my like weird, like imprinted things in my brain, that when she had this etiquette school, she literally taught like me, obviously, and how old was I? Probably anywhere between the ages of like 6 to 10 or whatever, how to properly answer the phone. So like we on what do you call it?
Amazing.
Yeah, she literally, like, we would practice on this rotary phone. The only reason why is because I still have it.
This is very Montessori, and I love it.
But like literally there was a pen and a paper, or a pad of paper and a pen next to this, and she would act out scenarios, and then we would have to be like, you know, so-and-so resident, I can take a message from my mom for you. Like things like that, like answering the phone. Obviously she didn't, like, emails weren't really a thing. She's not teaching a 6-year-old how to answer an email or like write an email. That wasn't really a thing, obviously, in the 90s. Yes. Okay. I was like, wait a minute. We weren't in the 2000s yet. But there was just basic etiquette for that. And so I think I took some of those like social etiquettes, and then I just took those things. And then when obviously email became apparent in my like teenage and adult life, I just applied those to email etiquette.
Right.
So acknowledging someone by their correct prefixes, unless they like, you know, told me, hey, you don't have to call me Mrs. something or whatever. I have a couple right now that they call me Mrs. Baynard.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
like, y'all can just call me Katie. It's really okay. But she's in a super high professional like job. Ugh. So that's why, I know, kind of weird. So I had to disclaim to her like, hey, that's totally fine. You can call me Katie. That's fine.
Please stop.
Yeah, I'm not old.
Also, but I'm gripping the mic because this is a big pet peeve of mine.
What?
Address the email by the name of the person. I can't tell you. One, I have a very easily misspelled name. It's either with an H or without an H. Mm-hmm. Okay? My name is spelled without an H.
Yeah.
My name is in my email. It's in my actual physical email, Sarah at Serendipity Photography.
Yeah.
Can't fuck it up.
Yeah.
It's in my, what's the thing at the bottom?
Signature.
My signature. Mm. It's in the name of my business, Serendipity Photography. It's always, not always, but 70% of the time it's misspelled.
You just got to do your due diligence, man. And like just do some like.
I've also been called the wrong name, like just completely the wrong name.
How?
And like, I don't know. Maybe
what
a copy,
name?
like if you're copying, pasting, like sending out like canned emails.
Oh, ma'am.
Check the names. Because it don't look good, my friend. It don't look good when you don't know my name.
Oh, yeah, for real.
Anyway, go on.
Do you want to lose like someone's attention and not gain any kind of like support or
that's happening currently right now, and I'm struggling with it.
Hell
but
no. Absolutely not.
Anyway, go on. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like again, I'm not gonna touch on this too much because I really feel like I could like teach a whole fucking class on this because it's something that bothers me, and also I'm one of those people too where I'm constantly you know, with my own team too and how they're responding to emails, if I'm like, hey, like, let's address it this way or things like that too. Is it like a innate thing? No, I feel like we got thrown into the world of email. And unless, again, you're coming from corporate world where corporate jargon is a thing and you just kind of pick it up, there's no one's teaching us. Like there's nowhere in school and either.
There might be now.
I don't think so, to be honest. It's just, or like really where you're learning it is in internships. If you're doing an internship or a practicum, like that is where I feel like whenever I have my interns come, that is one of the major things that I am teaching them is like, this is how you properly write out an email.
That's great.
And that's where they're getting it. However, I feel like even teenagers now, they're emailing with their teachers back and forth. So that lesson is already needing to have happened way beforehand. Whereas I feel like when we were in high school, email wasn't really like we weren't necessarily emailing anybody. We were T9, Jesus, blessed, and then text messaging, short form, all that kind of stuff too. So I feel like for our generation, we learned email etiquette to some degree on the job,
but I also feel like
internship,
because we learned letter etiquette, we just automatically implied
again,
that
it implied
email.
it. Absolutely. And so I think with like the generations that are coming that are below or younger than us, yeah, there's not, they're learning differently. And I really do think they're learning more in high school now, which I think is great. And then they're definitely going to like get the lessons in their internship, assuming that your internship is great and that somebody is correcting you. That's what an internship is for, learning all of that. But the email etiquette though, like within our industry, using full sentences, addressing someone by their correct name or their title, again, like doing your due diligence and spelling that person's name correctly. Or if you accidentally, we've all had the fumble with the fucking autocorrect. Okay. I understand that. So like, Irene the other day when her and I were emailing back and forth, she had spelled my name Katey. And of course, obviously like Irene and I super close. Yeah. She literally sent me an email after that. And she goes, I have no idea why my autocorrect spelled your name that way. I'm so sorry. And I was like, babe, it's fine. Like it's not that big of a deal because we have that repertoire. Right. Had she had been some random ass person, I would have been like, hello. Okay, weird. Did you mean me? Or did you meant to send this to a different Katie? Yeah. Like that sort of thing. So again, the humility, acknowledging things like that too. So email etiquette in the sense of, let me give you a couple of pointers. Okay. And then, we'll kind of wrap this up for y'all. Here's a couple of things. When you're sending an email, you want the person who you're asking for the response to be able to make an informed decision or an informed response. Please, for the love of God, over communication is a really, really big kudos thing when the receiver is looking at the email that you have sent and they have been informed with all of the correct information so that again, they can make an informed response. You just sending, for example, an inquiry. When I am sending an inquiry to somebody, I want to give them all of the information in order for them to make an informed decision or an informed response. If I'm sending an inquiry, I'm sending the couple's name, date, location of whatever this inquiry is for, time frame if I've got that, number of guests or whatever. Again, every inquiry is gonna be a little bit different depending on like what it is. Things along those lines. Here's maybe some like additional notes that I feel like, hey, this would be helpful for you to have or whatever. Instead of going back and forth being like, hey, are you available like on Saturday the 27th? Okay, where is it? Maybe I could be available depending on the location of it. Oh, it's 3 hours away. Now you've conversed like 2 or 3 times already. You've wasted that time depending on what the email response.
Now you have to get out of it.
For real. And be like, oh no, like unfortunately I'm not available or whatever have you because it's 2 hours away. You could have saved so much time and effort, like less clutter in the inbox if you literally just give all of the information that you have out front as much as possible.
That's from an inquiry standpoint, client to business.
Yeah.
So you want like a solid contact form for your inquiries is what you're implying. Cause
from that perspective, I know like for me as a planner, like from a full service perspective, when I'm like, for example, if I'm like inquiring with you.
Oh, not from a client. Okay. I get it. So business to business.
Yeah. Business to business, like email etiquette, whatever. Yeah. I'm not going to necessarily expect like couples when they come to me or couples when they come to you, they're not going to understand like how much it's helpful. Now, like when for example, for like our event management or event management couples, when it comes time, for example, the transportation, asking for transportation inquiries and like hair and makeup, I tell my couples up front, before you even touch transportation, you need to make sure you've got your hotel room blocks because one of the number one questions that they're going to ask is, where are we picking your guests up from? Yeah. If you don't have your hotel room blocks, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know yet. Like then you've wasted your time, their time. It doesn't help anything. Right. Same thing with hair and makeup artists. I literally tell my brides, you need to check with whomever is planning on getting services. You need to ask them who all wants hair and makeup like services done, all that kind of stuff too. So that again, you are sending potential hair and makeup artists all of the information saying, I need 10 services done, 5 hair, 5 makeup, you need it done in this time frame. Are you available this location, this day, whatever have you? Right. Super simple. Yep. You can cut down on the email time and all that kind of stuff too. So again, in summation with all of that, give as much information up front as possible. Even if you think that it's maybe not a detail that's necessary. Just sent an email last night and I CC'd one of my catering friends onto it because that's what the couple is using, like that catering team. And the caterer point of contact was like, hey, I'll go to the rentals appointment if it fits my schedule. I literally just CC'd her onto the email asking for the rental showroom appointments so that she can stay informed of like what potential like times are, as well as I acknowledged her in the email body of like, hey, I've CC'd her just so she can stay informed as well. But then also at the same time, then it just communicates back and forth that this is like a collaborative effort.
Right.
Again, did she really need to be on it? Not necessarily, but I want her to get like as much information as possible up front.
That makes sense.
So email etiquette for that, addressing people by their name, doing your due diligence and like researching like who they are, their prefixes or their titles of that sort. As much information as you can like in an email body, as well as, again, with the whole being honest and transparent. This is going to be a, how I should say, controversial topic. Autoresponders.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people absolutely loathe an autoresponder. However, I'm a person where it just helps set up expectations.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not in a place where you are actively in your inbox being able to send emails out, in my opinion, keep your autoresponder on. And then in that autoresponder, it should literally state if you are out of office for a long period of time. I have had vendors where they are literally out of the country. I have no idea that they're out of the country, that there's no autoresponder, and I'm keep sending follow-up emails and it's alarming me. And I'm like, why isn't this person responding? Go on their social media. Oh, you're having a great time eating a freaking baguette in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Love that for you, babe. Would have loved to have known that though, if your autoresponder had been on.
I personally reached out before. So, my HoneyBook at one point did not allow you to do autoresponders or out of office responders. They just recently rolled that out, which I love, but they didn't do it for a while. So I actually, before the break, I took a 2 to 3 week break off after Christmas through the holidays. I personally reached out to every single person.
So did we.
In my my upcoming weddings and was like, hey, I'm just personally reaching out to let you know I will be gone from this date to this date and not checking my email. So that because I couldn't get autoresponders through HoneyBook, they weren't like, where the fuck is this person? So sense. I was like, hey, just letting you know, like, and it was a canned email. I just changed the name and was like, hey, just letting you know, I'm letting you know personally that I will be out of the office and not checking my emails from this date to this date. And most people were just like, okay, thanks so much. Have a great holiday.
Because it manages expectations at that point too. Even if you think, the number one rule, I keep telling Emma this all the time. She's just learning this. We never assume anything.
Right.
That is the number one thing I want to say, not just in our industry, but in life in general. Never assume anything.
Right.
Don't assume anything. You just want to over communicate. If you want to play dumb or whatever, and someone then, informs you of like some sort of process of I don't really know, whatever. Never assume anything ever. Also, it helps with your anxiety. Okay?
Yeah.
At any point of that. But yeah, just with emails, it really communicates expectations. I've already sometimes upfront, in the world of instant gratification, and people are expecting, with the fact that we have phones attached to ourselves all the time, that like emails are something that we check on a consistent basis and that we're constantly in all the time. There are people that have boundaries, like myself, where I'm like, I have certain office hours or certain time frames that I'm only going to answer an email. And so be respectful of that also. I think that also kind of comes with email etiquette as well. If you have been communicated with, or if you see in an email signature or an autoresponder that office hours are a certain time frame and that you should expect an email response within a certain amount of time, which again, that's what should be in your autoresponder or maybe even in your signature as well. Don't be that person then and constantly badger that same person where you've already been established the boundary. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So it kind of goes both ways. So you've got to set yourself up for success in the sense of making sure you're communicating to those that are trying to reach you, but then also you need to communicate to those that you are trying to reach as well, and then respecting whatever is coming back to you.
Yep.
So there's that. If you guys want more tips on email etiquette, y'all can slide in my DMs because I can literally talk about this topic all day long. All day long.
Well, I think that is a great place for us to sign off here.
Love that.
Katie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, TILLYANDTEAL. What about you?
You can find me on Instagram at Serendipity Photography, SARA, like my name, Serendipity Photography. And you can find our podcast at Behind the Aisle Podcast on Instagram. We also have a website, behindtheaislepodcast.com. You can submit your What the Fuck Wednesdays there.
Yes.
We need some juicy topics from you guys. Since we are in the off season, we are currently out of things to what the fuck about. So we need you guys to send us in some stories. That would be great. And we also are going to shamelessly plug our networking event that's happening on February 17th. It is called the Vendor List. It's a speed dating networking event. It is at Mariah's Vineyard. We will have some yummy wine, some yummy apps, drink tickets, and also your ticket includes a free headshot from moi. So we would love to see you guys there. You can find the information on that in the show notes and at behindtheaislepodcast.com to purchase your tickets. And we love you so much. And
See you next time.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.